have been reading for almost 15 years now. My gosh, time goes by so fast. And now I am currently teaching tarot for those who want to do this full time, just as I'm doing. I will probably never stop reading. I don't know if I'll ever even retire because I love to read so much. And so my objective is to teach others how to read tarot and to introduce them to the concept that you can become a full-time entrepreneur or even do this for a side hustle. And just do tarot readings, working with clients, especially if you have the intuitive ability, the empathy skills, and also the passion for this kind of work. So that being said, speaking of empathy, I do want to go over the topic of empathy and how to practice it while you are reading cards. And the reason why I decided to discuss the topic of empathy is because I feel like it is lacking in this industry in so many ways, more than one. Oh my gosh, it's just very rare, okay? And it's been very frustrating to see the readers in different groups try to interpret things for other people, and I get that a lot of them are trying to help, but I feel like a lot of them can come off as very judgmental, a little bit condescending, and also rather dismissive to the client. And that's not what the person who's looking for help from you needs. Like, could you imagine if you go to somebody with an issue and you need advice and they are not listening to you, they're not practicing any kind of empathy, they're just dismissive, and they're telling you a whole nother narrative that doesn't even make sense, doesn't resonate, without any kind of compassion? Like, what would you do? Like, I would not go back to that person. I don't care if it would be my reader, my lawyer, my therapist. I think everybody should have and practice empathy skills and also good listening skills in any kind of arena that you are in. Even if you're not, wanting to strive to become a tarot reader full time, you could apply these skills that I'm going to be talking about in any level of career, of job, of your life, okay? As long as it has to do with interacting with other people and working with other clients, I do feel like it's an important skill to have and to practice. So I've always known how to incorporate empathy, but I feel like whenever I really was able to polish that skill was when I started working for this job full-time. I would say, yeah, it was part-time, but it felt like full-time. It didn't pay well. It was not the best job when it came to, getting paid, but I always like to see things as, a profit source and not really solely rely on one kind of profit source that I'm making as an entrepreneur, but that's a whole different story. So, anywho, I stayed at this job for quite some time. And the reason why I did was because I did see the value in the training, okay? They were really, really wonderful when it came to training their employees. We were tarot readers, okay? So they gave us the right skills when it came to reading tarot. As far as actually reading tarot, they didn't really focus so much on that, but they did focus on introduction, expressing empathy, client retainment, which is so important, especially for this level of work, because you want return clients, right? You want them to come back and you want them to be able to resonate with you. So encouraging them to come back is a way of creating client retainment. But again, I will do another video on that, and I will also discuss more of that in my Learning Tarot for Beginners workshop if you'd like to opt into that. So anyways, let's go back to the empathy aspect, because this is the one thing that I learned in this job while I was attending the training, which is why I stayed, because I was like, hey, if I can get anything from this job, I'm going to get that training so that way I can become a better version of myself and a better tarot reader. So basically what it was a client comes up to us, right, and tells us, hey, I'm having a situation with my relationship. The person I'm dating just disappeared. We were doing so well and they disappeared. Okay, this is just one scenario. There's going to be a lot of problems that come to you whenever you start reading. You're going to get all the tea. So I think that in this regard, whenever you're listening to them, to make sure not to butt in, interrupt them, let them tell their story, because that's sort of why they're there, is to vent, to process, to work through those emotions, and to gather some clarity and explanation. A lot of the times when we're in a situation, we can't really see it for what it is, so we do need that outside perspective, which is what we do, right? When the tarot reader, this is when the tarot reader comes in, right, and provides that perspective for our clients. So what you can do is, whenever they like tell their situation and they talk about like, oh, I'm just having the worst day, or this person's done this to me, or my job is shitty, whatever it may be, you can say, I'm really sorry to hear that. That must feel very frustrating. Okay? Or, I'm so sorry to hear that you're going through that. That must feel very hurtful to experience that. Right? You don't have to like say, oh, you know what? This is sympathy. Let's talk about sympathy, because we don't want to implement sympathy and absorb the energy or try to make it about us, right? Because whenever the client comes to us, it's not about us. It's about them. So remember that. But oh my gosh, that sucks that you had a crappy boyfriend. I once had a boyfriend of like that. I can totally relate. That's really not going to help the client, because they're not really going to care about what your life entails. Maybe there are going to be situations that can be relevant to your life or what you've been through. That happens to me all the time. But you've got to bite your tongue. They're not your best friend, right? You're their client. You're holding space for them, and you're staying detached fully throughout the whole session. So it's so imperative to practice empathy. You don't always have to practice it for every single session. Some people will just come and be like, well, I need a general reading, or they'll just ask like, is this person into me? Okay, let's connect and see what comes through. Then you can like let it flow. But if they're having a really hard time, a crappy day, or they're not feeling so well, it is good to practice empathy. The reason being is so that they can connect, because that's what they're looking for, is that connection. They can also feel seen, which is so important, especially like if some asshole like dips out on them and ghosts them, and they're just left there like, what's going on, right? You gotta have compassion for them in that regard. And even if you have the strength to be like, okay, whatever, I got ghosted, moving on, there's my answer. They might not always have that ability to do that, right? So it's so important that you practice empathy with them, and that you're also holding that space for them, okay? So yeah, I think it's just important to be able to put yourself in their shoes. I think it helps that much more, because I know that if I was going to someone for help and they were dismissive of what I was trying to explain to them, or what I was going through, I definitely wouldn't feel safe or frustrated. And that's happened to me before, especially like in the medical healthcare. When I was going through surgery, the nurses were very judgmental, very criticizing, and I remember just breaking down crying. So I don't know if you've been in a situation like that where you've had to rely on a caregiver, or you go to seek help from a caregiver and they don't give you care. It's just not fun to experience, and it's something that will create a lasting impression that will not be good for the client if you were to do that. So I think that's a skill that you can absolutely take with you in any aspect of your life, but especially as a tarot reader, it's very important that you're able to practice those listening skills and practice empathy with the client, so that they feel like they are in a safe space to be able to open up to you. And you'll see that they become more vulnerable as well whenever you do like express that empathy, make them feel seen, listen to them. Sometimes I have clients that just call and they just want to like vent, and I don't really have to do much. I don't really have to read much. I don't really have to channel much, right? Like, we practice the channeling and the interpretation. It's so important to like listen to our intuition and practice that daily when it comes to reading tarot. But the empathy part, that's important just as much as the reading tarot, because that's like the introduction. That's sometimes these are first-time clients. So that's like where you're giving an impression that you are an empathetic and caring person. And if you're not, this is probably not the field for you to be in, because I think it's important to have that sense of empathy and ability to be able to connect with your clients and relate to your clients on a professional level. And empathy is the key to do that. So I hope that this video gave you some value. If you'd like to learn more, I have tons of information in my Learning Tarot for Beginners course. I would invite you to sign up. It is a 4-week course. You go about it in your own pace. We're going to go through all the ins and outs of tarot. So if it's something that you're considering doing full-time or part-time, or you just want to learn and see where it takes you, this is definitely a great course that I would absolutely recommend, because I've had a lot of success rates from people who've attended this course, and a lot of testimonials saying that this course has absolutely helped them on their path, and it can also help you out on your path as well. So I invite you to take a look at that. The link will be in the description in this live. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for stopping by. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. I'm always happy to help and talk about anything relevant to tarot. And if this video helped you, if you're on the replay, comment replay, let me know what you think and how this information was able to help you and give you value as when it comes to moving forward, whether even if it's in your career right now or if it's just with a friend or whatever, you know. It can be pertained everywhere. I just think it's so important to acknowledge that it is an important skill to take with you when it comes to reading tarot for your clients. It's probably one of my most valuable things that I do convey and teach, but I also demonstrate with my clients as well. And that's why I have such a strong success rate, and that's why I have so many return clients, because I'm able to connect with them and express empathy in that way. And it does take some time, but once you have that script of like, oh, hey, I'm so sorry to hear that, that must feel, and then like, I'm sorry to hear that, that must feel blank, right? I'm sorry to hear that blank happened, that must feel blank. Whatever you imagine it could feel like, that must feel very hurtful, that must feel very frustrating, that must feel very confusing, right? So you're actually addressing the problem before you can provide guidance and resolution, and that's the next step. So thank you guys so much for being here, and I will see you guys in the next video.